to bring on our next guest. She is known as the Dream Ambassador, MM Washington. She's a speaker, an author, a coach, and she's a multi-passionate creator. She's also an attorney and a recording artist. Her mission is to inspire, motivate, and cheer millions towards success, regardless of where they are, where they're from, or where they've been. Everybody put your hands together for MM Washington.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Okay, Camila, that was unfair, putting me after that. I'm in such a zen place right now, so bear with me. I hope I can deliver what I'm here to deliver. All right. Yes, I can. Okay, so question for everyone in the room. Who is your favorite world changer, visionary, impact maker? Who's your favorite? Just take a couple of seconds and think it through, and then I'll ask for volunteers to share with me. Okay, Brooke.
Oh gosh. Can you repeat the question?
Who is your favorite world changer? Okay, let me repeat it for Brooke. Who's your favorite world changer, impact maker, or visionary?
Camila Cornia, right?
All right, good. I heard Camila, yes. Yeah.
Beyonce.
Beyonce, okay, all right. Anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
Brene Brown.
Yes, Brene, okay, I'm hearing some good ones. Okay. Anybody here think about themselves? You thought about yourself? All right. Kudos to you. So I'm here to tell you that you are a visionary, you are a world changer. Actually, I'm not here to tell you, I'm here to remind you. You're a visionary, you're a world changer, you're an impact maker. The fact is you're here. You came, and we know that Camila is all about impact makers, and so you're here, you're an impact maker. Now, when you thought of these people, what traits, before I ask about your traits, what traits about Oprah, well, nobody mentioned Oprah, but that's mine. I thought of Oprah this morning, and we talked about her. What traits does Oprah possess? What traits does Brene possess, Beyonce or Camila, that makes you identify them as a visionary or a world changer or an impact maker? Service. That's good. That's good. Truth teller. Who said that? Yes, that's really good. Platform. Okay. All right, that's good. So what about so the ones that I wrote down Steve Jobs or Jobs. I wrote down Oprah. I have my list. And one of the things that I identified about them, in addition to the truth telling and the service and the impact, is that they faced adversities. Every single one of them faced challenges in their journey to where they are. Name anyone. Camila, did you face challenges to get to where you are? Beyonce, so all of them faced challenges, but it's what they did with that matters, and that's what I'm here to share on today. So I'm here to share with you about how to never give up on your dreams, regardless of the challenges that you face, and you will face them. And I'm here, like I said, not to teach you anything, but to remind you, because sure enough, as you're here at a conference like this, getting all the good, all the feel goods, all the great information, the strategy, the mindset stuff, once you leave here, you're going to face challenges just because you came and you experienced this. Has that happened to anybody before, where you learn something new, or you make a decision, I'm no longer going to do this, I'm going to start doing this, and then all of a sudden you get attacked from what seems like all angles. So how do you handle that? How do you not give up when those challenges come? So I just have 3 words, and those 3 words are faith, hope, and love. All right. So, faith. Faith is trust and belief. That's the definition of faith that I'm using, is trust and belief. And it's usually based on things that you've experienced in the past. Well, I know that I've come through this before, so I will get through. You base your belief and your trust on the experiences that you've been through before and that you've gotten through. Faith builds you and it prepares you for where you are trying to go. All right, so, pardon me here. So faith I want you to have the faith that those challenges that will come, and I think that there's at least one person in this room who just the fact that you're here, there were so many things that were trying to keep you from being here, but you're here. So just continue to have the faith that those challenges that you're facing are building you up and preparing you for where you're headed. I want you to have the faith that every no that you experience is just as important to where you're going as the yeses. What do I mean by that? Okay, I'll give you an example from my own story. In 2020. So in 2018, okay, so since 2013, since I watched my very first TEDx talk, I wanted to be a TEDx speaker. That was on my vision board, that was in my vision journal, that was something that I wanted to do. But then I talked myself out of it for a while, and then finally in 2018 I decided to apply. So I applied to 3 TEDx talks, and I was rejected from every single one of them. And that wasn't the best feeling. It was not the best feeling in the world, actually. But I learned from that there were some mistakes that I made. I just went back and studied what everyone else's TEDx talks were, what they were about. And so I went back in 2019 and I applied. And I applied to 3 different, again, these were completely different TEDx talks. And one of them happened to be in London. And that happened to be the one that I really wanted. And that was the only one that accepted me. So in 2019, actually in November, just a few short months ago, I finally fulfilled that dream of becoming a TEDx speaker. I bring this up, thank you. Thank you. I bring it up not for the applause, but what would have happened if I had just said, well, maybe I'm not cut out for this, maybe I should look at something else, and those thoughts did come into my mind, but then I persisted. And so whatever it is, your dreams, you're gonna be attacked, you're gonna get no's. You've already gotten no's. Keep going, keep pushing, it will come to pass. And sometimes pushing when I say pushing, that doesn't mean that you don't pivot. Sometimes you might have to pivot, but you're still moving in the direction of your dreams. Okay, so now let's talk about hope. Hope is similar to faith. It's in the same family as faith, but it's slightly different. Hope is that quiet assurance, that assurance that something in the future is going to happen. You're expecting something in the future that nobody else can see. So you see something in your mind and in your heart that actually hasn't manifested yet. And that's really what visionaries do. A visionary is one who sees things as they could be, even when nobody else sees it. Even if they've never seen it happen before, you see it in your mind's eye. And there's that saying that says, if you can see it in your heart or in your mind, then you can hold it in your hand. That's what hope is. And so as you're pursuing your business dreams, your entrepreneurial goals, your health and wellness goals, as you get sidetracked, which again, we all will, continue to hold that vision in your mind. Remind yourself, someone, like I said earlier, someone like me, I believe in vision boards. I know not everybody does, but I believe in vision boards. I believe in putting things on where I can see them so that I can constantly remind myself, of where I'm trying to go. And that's the mark of a visionary, that's the mark of a world changer, that's the mark of hope. I want to share another personal story, and this one is a little bit more personal. And it has nothing to do with business, except that it does, because it has affected my mindset with everything else that has come since then. Years ago, I was in my first marriage, and as soon as you get married, at least in my community in Houston, as soon as I got married, the next question was, when are you gonna have babies, okay? And so I got pregnant soon after, and then in my 5th month, 27 weeks, I had a stillbirth. It was devastating because, I've gotten past that first trimester, and so, everything was, supposedly I was in the safe zone, and I had the stillbirth. Okay, no problem, I'll try again. Second pregnancy, at 12 weeks, I had a miscarriage. Third pregnancy, at 13 weeks, I had a miscarriage. Fourth pregnancy, at 26 weeks, I had another stillbirth. And so at this time, it's like, okay, I'm usually an optimistic, hopeful person, glass half full type of person. But at this point, I felt hopeless. And then not to mention that the doctor came in and said, look, you have fibroids, and if you don't get those removed, this is gonna continue to happen. I had heard that after the first loss, I had heard that I had fibroids, and but then I remembered that my mother had told me that she had fibroids, and she went on to have all her kids with the fibroids in place, and I held on to that as my story of hope. Well, my mom did it, so I can do it. And so, but after the 4th loss, I decided, okay, it was causing friction in my marriage, and so I went ahead and decided to have the fibroids removed. Where I was gonna get the money from, I didn't know, but I went ahead, we scheduled it. And keep in mind, all this time I had been able to get pregnant, but I had not been able to sustain a pregnancy. So now after the fibroids were removed, immediately after, the doctor came into the room after I woke up and said, we removed several masses, and but unfortunately, you'll no longer be able to get pregnant. This was devastating. Like, at first I was able to get pregnant. I just couldn't sustain it. Now you're telling me I can't get pregnant? He said, well, unless you have in vitro fertilization. So at that time, that cost like $10,000. I'm sure it's much more now. And so I wept. I felt sorry for myself. I felt miserable. I was depressed. But then people around me, that's why community is important. The community around me, the sisters around me, the women around me, one in particular rallied around me and reminded me that if I give up hope, then I have nothing else. And so slowly but surely, I began to hope again. I'm here to say that today I have 2 sons. One son is, thank you. I'm happy to say, and they're not babies anymore. I've got a 13-year-old and an 11-year-old, and I look at them as my little miracles. What if I had given up hope? Those babies were my dream at that time. I've since gone on to have other dreams, but those were my dreams. What if I had given up hope? What if I had taken what the doctor had said as the truth, as a final answer, and just said, oh well, I don't know, I really don't know where I'd be, but I held on to hope. And so hope, we've talked about faith, we've talked about hope. If you don't hear anything else I say today, I'm gonna talk about love. When I talk about love, love yourself first. I'm talking about love of yourself. Love yourself enough to know that you are worthy of that dream that you are pursuing. You are worthy of dreaming that dream. You are worthy of doing what it takes to achieve that dream. You are worthy of failing and falling as you progress towards that dream. Failure is a part of the story. It's a part of everyone's success story. Every single success. Love yourself enough to know that you are worthy of that. And you're worthy of finally attaining that dream. Love of self, then love of others. As we've heard from other people today, some of the other speakers today, there are people, there are destinies that are waiting on your dream, on you accomplishing your dream. There are destinies that are tied to you fulfilling what you're called to fulfill. So if you give up, it's not just you that it affects. It's not just your immediate family. There are people that you're here to serve. We heard Jasmine talk about the women of Wu and the people that she's affecting, the people whose lives she's affecting. And when I'm talking about love of others, I'm not just talking, like I said, about your immediate circle. There are people that you will impact that you'll never see. You'll never even get to hear how you impacted them, but they're there. So love of self, love of others, love of self, love of others, love of today. What you're facing today, where you are today, where you are in the journey, it's important. Where you're going is important, but where you are today is equally as important. The challenges are important, they make you stronger. Imagine what kind of, have you ever worked hard for something and then achieved it? That feeling, that sense of fulfillment, accomplishment. But then there's the other side, when things come so easily to you. Maybe in school you understand the subject matter and so you tune out. Maybe you get bored easily. The challenges are there to keep you awake, to keep you engaged, to make the success all the sweeter, all the more sweeter for you. So love your today, and then love your tomorrow. All right, so I want to share one last story. And this story is about a guy. It's about a boy named Joseph. And maybe you've heard the story before. Joseph, he was the youngest of 12 brothers. He had 11 brothers, he was the youngest. And Joseph had 2 dreams. And in his dreams, all his siblings and his parents were bowing down to him. They were beneath, they were lesser than him, so to speak. And his brothers got jealous when he shared the story. Because sometimes when you share those dreams with the wrong people, even though who would think that sharing your dreams with your brothers means that you're sharing it with the wrong people, but sometimes when you share your dreams with the wrong people, it can have a negative effect. So he shared his dream with his brothers. They got upset. How dare he say that we're going to bow down to him? How dare he think that he's above us? And he's the youngest. And so they decided that they were going to sell him away. Now this is in olden times. This is not modern day. But they decided they were going to sell him away to a foreign country as a slave. And so they did. And so Joseph got to this foreign country, and here he was. He went from his parents' house where he was so loved. In fact, his father really, really loved him. And now he's in a foreign land working as a slave in the palace. And he's in the palace working diligently, excellently, in spite of the conditions. And his master's wife decides that she wants to have an affair with him. And he said no. And so she got upset and pretended that he assaulted her. And so he went from his parents' house. Before his brothers sold him to slavery, they put him in a pit. So he went from his parents' house to the pit, from the pit to the palace, from the palace where she made these accusations and put him in jail. They put him in jail, in prison. And so I won't tell the story because it goes a little bit longer, but eventually his dreams did come to pass. Years later, the king needed somebody to interpret his dreams. And somebody that had been in prison with Joseph remembered, there's somebody in prison that is able to interpret dreams. I'm going to bring him to you. So they bring Joseph from the palace. He interprets the king's dreams. Nobody else had been able to, so the king is excited and makes Joseph second in command to himself. So, if he had given up when he was in the pit, he wouldn't be second in command to the king. If he had given up when he was in prison or in the palace the first time, but by this time, he's now second in command. There's a famine in the land, and his brothers come from far away, and they don't know that he's second in command. In fact, so many years have passed that they didn't even recognize him. And guess what? They bowed to him and begged, without knowing who he was, we need food, we're starving. And he recognized them, but they didn't recognize him. He could have sought revenge, but he didn't. He gave them what they needed, and then he revealed himself to them. So, love, when you are pursuing your dream, know that there are people that are going to attack you. There are people that are going to speak lies against you. I'm sorry to say, it sounds very negative, but if you haven't experienced it, you will. Sorry. I'm sorry to be a Debbie Downer, but you will. There are people that will there are things that will happen that are not in alignment with where you think you need to be. Remember this. Remember that when you get there, when you do achieve your dream, be grateful for the naysayers because they pushed you there. Be grateful for the haters, the backbiters, the backstabbers. Be grateful for them because without them, you already know. Without them, you wouldn't have had that push to continue. So, lastly, I just want to remind you again, faith, hope, and love. Faith that tomorrow will be better than today. Hope that if you give up the lives, the destinies that are holding on, that are waiting for what you have to produce. And sometimes, lastly, how many people in here make products as part of your business? Maybe jewelry, maybe mugs, maybe jewelry? Awesome. Even in something like that, where you're not service-based, you still have an impact. There are still people that are depending on, and it sounds crazy, but jewelry makes me smile. So it's just as important as a service. All right, I'm gonna end here. My name is M.M. Washington. Like she said earlier, Naraini. I don't have any gifts. I'm just here to share and encourage and remind you that when you leave, hold on to faith, hope, and love, knowing that people are depending on you and your business will flourish. Thank you.